All right, so we're gonna start with the door. Now, I know we had some issues. Some of you cut up that larger piece of wood initially. So do whatever you need to with what you've got. But anyway, what I was gonna say is most of these studs should be the thinner 2x4. And then you had two pieces of what would have been the 2x6. So you notice how it's a little bit bigger. All right, now there should be, our header is 2x6 material. Everything else in the wall is 2x4. So I made note of that. And I also made note on my plans, feel free to do the same on yours, that this stud here, okay, it's not as, here, the wax paper doesn't help. Okay, this is just an airspace. Here we have two studs, a stud. Here is that following stud on the 16-inch on center path or pattern. This is an airspace in between, followed by your king stud and your trimmer stud. Okay, so the same goes with all the way over here. We have our stud, there's an airspace, and then we have two doubled up studs because it's on the outside here where our two studded walls that we already made are going to line up. So for instance, let's pretend I had my studded wall. Those walls, we're gonna end up gluing on edge this way. So having it doubled up like that allows us to have more to glue to. Okay, now this would be where those California corners would have come into play. We'll just leave it how it is. All right, so I have everything cut and ready to go. I've got my studs over here. Oh, I lied. I don't have my header cut. That's what I was gonna do. So my header, okay, so the header is that thicker material. All right, now you're actually gonna have to cut two headers. And I'll show you why. Where'd my other one go? Okay, sorry about that. The only thing I didn't have done. But anyway, your header, it's gonna be one of the 2x4s on edge. So on edge is when it's on that smaller dimension. So this is our 2x4. This would be the 3.5 inch side. If I roll it, this is the 1.5 inch. When I say on edge, this is what I'm referring to. Okay, so we're gonna have one on edge, followed by, it's a doubled up 2x6. You're gonna glue those together. And then that header is going to be between the top plate and the rolled 2x4. Now, this isn't how we drew it. Okay, now, ideally you wouldn't have both of these. It should just be this, the doubled up top plate, or not top plate, I'm sorry, doubled up header. But since this is such a small gap, can you imagine cutting little cripples for that? So I'm sure that might be why the plan went this route. Okay, but notice okay, so these are the two 2x6s, doubled up, right? That is the same thickness as this board on edge. Okay, and I know that's really hard to see from this. All right, but that is what's gonna go there. Okay, so I have everything cut. I'm gonna leave off my top plate. I'm gonna leave off the doubled up top plate. We're gonna talk about those later this week. All right, so I'm gonna put this where it should go. I'm gonna pin it in place. Just the best you can so it isn't moving around on you. All right, I'm gonna put 2 end for end. So a lot of pins. That's why I sent so many home with you. Okay, there's still a little movement in there. And remember, if you watched my last video, you can try to put it in an angle and try to catch the head of the pin on your board to hold it in place, or you can bend the pin over if that works for you as well. Just when you're done, try to bend them back. All right, there's still some wiggle room in there, but I think you guys understand. All right, so that's that one. Okay, my bottom plate. Okay, notice this is the door, but clearly it's the door because it has the opening. I'm gonna put the whole bottom plate on, and then when I'm done, I'm gonna cut out what I don't need. That, I think, is gonna give me more stability as I'm building. All right, so I've got those. I'm gonna run out of pins. All right, I'm not gonna make you watch this whole thing, but I would do just like before, tiny bit of glue. The glue goes a long way. All right, so tiny bit of glue. I'm gonna put, yeah, I guess I'm gonna start with the first stud outside the door. Okay, I'm lining those up. You wanna make sure it's straight with the lines behind it on the print. All right, so I'm gonna put some pins in to hold that into place. Okay. And down here I can move some pins so it's putting pressure to that glue joint. Okay, so there's that. I'll do one more on this side. No, I'm not. I'm gonna start filling in the door. Okay, so I have my king stud next. That's my top plate. I'm gonna put that up there. Okay, so my king stud. I'm gonna put a little bit more glue. Okay, so I'm gonna squeeze that in there now. And I lose most of my glue, but, okay, and again, you wanna make sure it's over the lines that are underneath it. Now this is where it's gonna get tough to try to get pins in there without getting in the way of your next stud. But I think that's pretty good. This one needs to go down a little. All right, so I've got my last stud of the layout. I've got my king stud. Now before I go any further, I'm gonna start putting in that header. So I have my 2 pieces for the header, plus that board that's on edge right underneath the header. That's probably too much glue. All right, so now you want to make sure they're end for end. Okay. Then I'm gonna put some glue on the edge. Basically all 4 edges. Well, I did 3, but we'll need it on all 4. Well, that doesn't help. All right, but that is why we have the wax paper. I'll be able to peel the wax paper off later. All right, so I'm gonna squeeze the header into there. All right, I'm gonna make sure it's tight to the 2 boards that are already in there. Okay, and I put glue on that side already because I thought that would make it easier. Alright, so I'm kind of taking the 2 ends. If I think I have too much glue, I'm spreading the glue for the next piece. But I'm gonna fit my king stud in there. And once again, get all of that lined up and pinned nicely into place. Okay, so I want pressure here to push that over. Okay, and then down here. Whoops, a little too much pressure. Okay, so that's gonna hold those into place. I don't really have anything down here holding it. All right, so I already, like I said, put glue on those 2 edges, and I'm gonna slide that in there. Okay, now here come our 2 trimmers. So I'm gonna put the glue on those. Right, then I'm gonna pull this bottom out a little so I don't lose all my glue. All right, and then just same thing as before. I'm gonna put pins there so this can't shift. You wanna make sure everything is nice and straight to the lines underneath it. Now what you're really gonna have to watch is to make sure all of these wall heights are the same as the other balsa wood walls you made. You don't want one to be too tall or too short. And I mean, even to critique my own work, this one should have been a little bit longer. Notice how it's not touching the top plate. I know it's kind of hard to see, but there, like that, this should have been a little bit longer. But this, we're gonna consider practice before we do our second house. So we're just working out all our mistakes. Okay, so you would continue to do the rest of them outward. Now, just like I said, if I laid it in there so you could just at least see, these are following that 16-inch on center. They're gonna be doubled up on this edge. And then there should be whoops. All right, now I will put a picture up when I am done so you can see it. But this is gonna be your assignment for Monday. You could get all these cut and laid out and glued Monday. Monday will be the wall with the door. Wednesday we'll do the wall with the window. And then Friday we'll work on tying them together. Now I put a poll in Teams. If you didn't already, don't glue the top plates on. Don't glue the double top plates on. If you did, that's fine, just don't glue any more on, right? But hope you have a nice day.